Does your baby still wake up in the middle of the night, even though you have done everything you can possibly think of to help them? If so, you are not alone. This is the episode where we don't learn how to sleep train our babies because I tried it and it didn't work for me. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Hey there, I'm Jill, and this is Confessions of a New Mom. We are going to be talking about what in the world do you do when your baby is not sleeping through the night. It is frustrating, and it can also be very easy to believe that there's either something wrong with you or there must be something wrong with your baby. Before we jump into all of that, let's talk about what does it actually mean for your baby to sleep through the night. Did you know that developmentally, it is actually very normal for babies to not sleep through the night during their first year of life? First of all, as newborns, they shouldn't be sleeping through the night because they need to be getting their nutrition even throughout the night hours. But then, even beyond that, it is totally normal for babies to be waking up throughout the night within their first year. Now, this is so critical and important to know because I don't know about you, but as a new mom, one of the questions I got over and over and over again as my little one was getting older was, so is he sleeping through the night? And when I would say, no, not yet, almost immediately the response to that would always be, oh, really? My baby was sleeping through the night at 8 weeks, or my baby was sleeping through the night at 6 weeks. And just instantly you think to yourself, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my baby? Why isn't my child sleeping through the night? And it creates this sense of there's something wrong when in reality, it's actually very normal for babies to wake up throughout the night, especially before they hit 1 years old. But you wouldn't know that, especially when you talk to so many moms whose babies are magically sleeping through the night. So, what are some reasons why your little one may not sleep through the night? Well, some really common reasons are first off, hunger. Yeah, even an older baby can wake up hungry, right? Like, yes, ideally they're not eating through the night as they get older. I believe really past 4 or 5 months old. Talk to your doctor about that, but like they do get to a point where they really don't have to eat as much. It might be more of a comfort feed. But hey, I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes hungry too, right? So it is possible that your little one is just hungry. Could also be things like growth spurts, reaching milestones, all of which causes sleep regressions. It can be teething, which we know can be very painful for little ones. It can even be separation anxiety, that they're spending time away from you and they wake up and you're not there and they just want to be close to you, right? There are definitely a list of very legitimate reasons why your little one is waking up and not able to make it through the night into the morning. But that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your baby. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. So then why do we feel like we're doing something wrong? And honestly, I think that for me, it was feeling a pressure from people in my community who I was comparing myself to. I was comparing myself as a mom and I was comparing my baby to them. And that just put a lot of pressure and frustration on me when my son wasn't sleeping when I thought he should have been. So in my situation, I think my son has had an issue with sleep for maybe a myriad of reasons, but I really do believe it's also a temperament issue in his case. I noticed that around 2.5, 3 months old, whenever it was time to put him down for a nap, he would begin screaming. Now, I'm not talking about like, I'm tired and so I'm crying because I'm a baby, right? I'm talking like, you would think I was torturing this child because I was simply trying to get him to go to sleep. And I noticed that if I would simply stop the process of trying to get him down for a nap, he magically would stop screaming, right? So it definitely for me was connected to he did not want to go to sleep. So I began doing what all of the experts tell you to do, right? Create a sleep routine. Let them know this predictable pattern so that it cues to them that it's time to sleep. So we started doing that. And my little guy was pretty clever because he knew as soon as I started that routine, it's time to start screaming, right? Like he just was like so resistant to the idea of sleep, even if he was incredibly tired. I started then looking at wake windows, which is such a big thing. And they talk about how you don't want to have too short of a wake window, you don't have too long of a wake window. So I would try everything from let's try extending it and see if it's easier. It wasn't. Let's try shortening it. Maybe he's tired. That wasn't it either. There seemed to be just no sweet spot where my son could go to sleep with ease. Eventually, I did want to try the Ferber method of sleep training. In the version that I used, it was more of a modified version where I would put my son down, and the check-ins for me were a little bit shorter. I think I did 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And I will say that in the first few nights, I thought it was going fairly well. He was obviously screaming and crying, but I would go in, check on him, he would resettle, fall asleep. And I knew that those first few nights were going to be difficult. That is commonly said that those first 3 nights, you just got to make it through them, and then it's going to be easy after that. Well, we made it through the first 3 nights, and day 4 came around. I put my little one down to sleep, and he started screaming in a way that I had never heard before. Now, you know, moms, you know the cry of, I'm not happy or I'm tired. And then there's another scream. There's a scream of, I am stressed, I am not okay, and I need you. And that is what my son started doing. He started screaming in a way where I just couldn't. I could not leave him just to cry. I had to go and get him. Who cares what the time intervals were at that point, right? And not only did he start screaming like that at night, but then he was starting to scream like that for his naps. It was almost as if this huge regression backwards because I had tried sleep training with him. Now, maybe had I done something wrong? Maybe. I don't know. I'm sure, like you, if you were desperate to get your baby to sleep, you have read every blog, you have talked to people, you have watched videos. Like I have done that too. I have talked to my pediatrician, I have gotten a book about sleep training. You cover the bases and you do everything that you can possibly do to help your little one. But when my son started screaming like that, I put up the white flag and I said, I'm done. We're finished with this. And I think a lot of that came from realizing that not only were these methods just not working for my child, but I was done caring what other people thought. I needed to accept where I was with my son. I had been exhausting myself looking up sleep coaches on Instagram and getting their tips. I had exhausted myself asking parents, what did you do to help your baby sleep? And inevitably, they all said sleep train and use like the cry it out or the Ferber method, right? After you do every possible thing that you can think to do to help your child sleep, there just comes a point when if you hit a wall, it's just time to stop. And that's where I found myself. And that's why this is the episode where we're not learning how to sleep train. This is instead talking more about when to know when it's time to just take a break from it all. In my case, it was actually very freeing to accept that this is just where we are right now. My son just doesn't sleep through the night. My son needs help falling asleep, right? And you know what? Since accepting that, it's taken a lot of pressure off of my shoulders. It's helped me to feel less stressed. And honestly, when you're less stressed, your baby is far less stressed too. I think the thing that really cinched it for me, as I was researching sleep training, you would read all about the method and all this information about why it's okay for baby and it's not dangerous for them. And here's how you do it. I was noticing that there was always like this one little line that would say something like, whether you sleep train or not, your baby will eventually learn how to sleep through the night. And then it would move along, right, to like more method of how to do it. And I started noticing that in a couple of different places. This little like passing note on how if you don't sleep train, your baby's still going to learn how to fall asleep on their own. And I thought, okay, then that's what we're going to do. Maybe one day I will revisit sleep training. Maybe one day we are going to try it again. But for now, I'm just going to trust that eventually my little one is going to fall asleep and sleep through the night. Now, right now, he is about 8 months old. He's going to be 9 months old soon. And you know what? he has been sleeping longer stretches. I stopped sleep training. We tried that around 5 months old. That's when we hit the wall and we stopped. And ever since then, I've just been going with the flow, right? If he needs me to help him fall asleep, I help him fall asleep. If he needs me to in the middle of the night, I'm there and I'm going to help him in the middle of the night. And eventually, he has been getting those longer stretches of sleep. Is it perfect? No, it is not. Am I tired? Yes, I am. But I'm also surprisingly less stressed. Now, that may not work for every parent, right? You might be someone who's like, I need to get my kid to fall asleep. And if that's you, then that's okay. And there are plenty of resources out there to help you. But if you're like me and the whole sleep training thing is just causing you stress and anxiety and frustration, you might be in a place where you're hitting a wall and it's just time to stop. That doesn't mean you're not going to revisit it. It doesn't mean that you never try to sleep train your child again. Maybe it just means for now, the best thing for you and for baby is to hit the pause button and just simply accept that where you are is where you are and it's okay. But let's not just leave it there, right? It's one thing to say, accept where you are and let go of the anxiety, right? Like, yes, that's good advice, but that still leaves you with a baby that's not sleeping and some challenges. So, I'm going to share with you what I did since stopping the whole sleep training process and how I kind of approached it in a little bit of a different way. For me, I looked at all of the challenges that I was having with my son, whether through naps or bedtime, right? Everything from how is he falling asleep to staying asleep to waking up, like what were the different challenges that I was experiencing. In my case, my son needed me to rock him to sleep. Then once he was asleep, he was waking up, especially at night, for night feeds, and then he wasn't sleeping through the night. And I just kind of thought, okay, can I reverse engineer this in a way, like how can I approach this in just a little bit of a different angle? So for me, I thought, what's the thing that is the most challenging for me? And honestly, it was rocking my son to sleep, right? Like I physically was so worn out, especially by the end of the day. I could not rock him one more time, right? So I thought, okay, of all the challenges, that's the one I'm going to focus on. How can I change that one? Now, in my case, what I did for that was using co-sleeping in a way. What I would do is I would lay him down in bed and I would lay down next to him. He then, by laying down next to him, eventually learned how to fall asleep without me rocking him in my arms. At that point, I could scoop him up and put him into his crib, right? And that was a way of kind of coming at it from a different angle. I wasn't fixing every sleep problem that he had, but I was taking one thing that was a challenge and finding a solution for it. And then from there, he did eventually start learning how to fall asleep in his crib instead of laying right next to me, right? So I just kind of started chipping away at it bit by bit. The next one for me was night feeds. He was waking up 3 times a night wanting to eat. And that definitely was too many times, especially because my little one was like in the 99th percentile of weight and height, right? Like he did not need to eat during the night anymore. So in that case, what I started doing was I began weaning him off of his bottles, right? Like I started lessening how much I was feeding him per feeding. And really, because I was consistent with that, I eventually began seeing he needed to eat less and less throughout the night. We have some nights now where he doesn't need to eat at all. And then we have some other nights that not so good. And he does need a little bit of something to get him through the night. But again, it was looking at one specific challenge I was having and what could I do to help that one thing. So in the case of your child, look at the range of issues that you might be experiencing with them, right? And then pinpoint what's the one thing right now that I really need to work on. What can you do to begin addressing that? Maybe you're not going to fix it overnight, but maybe there are some things that you can put in place that are going to begin helping that issue to get better little bit by bit until eventually it's not really a problem anymore. So if you are one of those mamas whose babies is just not sleeping through the night, I want you to take heart and know that it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with you. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with your baby. It is so easy to fall into that comparison trap, to hear other women talk about how great their babies sleep and to really get discouraged by that. But I want you to take heart and know it is developmentally very normal for your baby to be waking up, especially within that first year of their life. You are not necessarily doing anything wrong by having your little one wake up. It's important for you to take time for yourself to think about what you need during this time to help yourself and to help your little one get the sleep that they need. So I hope this helps you to take a little bit of pressure off of yourself, a little bit of pressure off of your baby, to relax and know eventually they are going to sleep through the night. You're going to get through this phase. I know it's hard and it's challenging, but you're going to make it through. If this is you, if you find yourself in a place of just wanting to give up on sleep training or maybe thinking that it is time to give up on it, go ahead and head on into the comment section below. Share a little bit about what challenges you're facing, what is working for you, what isn't working for you. I'd love to get to hear a little bit of your story.